and what our speakers are sharing. We also invite you to like us on Facebook. That's facebook.com, Arrancada Philippines. Please also connect with us at LinkedIn by looking for Arrancada Philippines. Finally, we request that you complete and submit the evaluation forms to the Team Asia staff after today's session. Your feedback is valuable to us. We would like to thank our sponsors and partners without whom this forum would not have been possible. Our government partners, the Department of Trade and Industry and the Board of Investments, the Department of Tourism and the Tourism Promotions Board, and the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. Our platinum sponsor, First Philippine Holdings. Our gold sponsors, Metro Pacific Investments Corporation and RG Manapat and Company, the Philippine member firm of KPMG International. Our silver sponsors, Blue Cross Insurance, Philinvest Alabang, Mega World Corporation, Filipina Shell Petroleum Corporation, and SGV and Company. Our bronze sponsors, Capital One Philippine Support Services Corporation, Manila Water Company, and Miascor, Meralco Industrial Engineering Services. Our patrons, Aboitiz Power Corporation, Chrysler, JRS Express, PLDT Alpha Enterprise, Supply Chain Management Association of the Philippines, Social Security System, and Villaruz and Company, CPAs. Our assessment document minor sponsors, DM Consunji and Philips Electronics and Lighting, Inc. Our media partners, ABS-CBN News Channel, Business World Publishing Corporation, Oxford Business Group, Philippine Daily Inquirer, and Rappler. Our partner business groups, the Confederation of Garment Exporters of the Philippines, Employers Confederation of the Philippines, Financial Executives Institute of the Philippines, Makati Business Club, Management Association of the Philippines, the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Philippine Constructors Association, Philippine Exporters Confederation. Our technology partner, the Integrated Computer Systems, Inc., our hospitality partner, the E-Hotel Makati, our delegate bag sponsor, Viajero Rent-A-Car Corporation, our lanyard and speaker token sponsor, the Department of Tourism and the Tourism Promotions Board, another token sponsor, Air Asia Zest, our official internet provider for WEBCAST, PLDT Alpha Enterprise, our official event partner, Team Asia. This forum was made possible by USAID from the American people. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the Philippine National Anthem.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang magiliw, ewas ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang binirang, tuyang ka ng magiting, sa manluluping, di ka pasisigil, sa nagagang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mo'y bagaw, ay hinagang tulad, awit sa pagkayang minamahal, ang isang ng atawad mo'y tagumpay na nagtitingin, ang bituin at araw niya kailan ang may magtitingin, lumanang araw ng warhabit pagsingka, buhay langit sa piling mo, ang inigaya na pagkay mga akin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
You may now take your seats. To formally welcome us and introduce our guest speaker, let's all give a big hand to the President of the Australia-New Zealand Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines, Mr. Ian Porter.
Thank you very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, partners in the public and private sectors and the media, representatives of all of our partner business associations, corporate and government sponsors, diplomatic colleagues, friends watching on our live webcast. I have the distinct pleasure this morning, on behalf of the Joint Foreign Chambers of the Philippines, to welcome all of you to this, the third annual Arrancada Forum, and I must say the largest in terms of the numbers of you who have decided to grace us with your presence today. My name, as you heard, is Ian Porter. I'm the president of ANCHAM in the Philippines. The JFC, the Joint Foreign Chambers of the Philippines, launched Arrancada Philippines just over 3 years ago with DTI Secretary Domingo and PEZA Director General de Lima at the DTI offices here in Makati. Because Secretary Domingo, who delivered the opening remarks at our two previous forums, is abroad today, in his place, Director General de Lima is honouring our forum with her opening remarks. We are honoured that DTI is so well represented here today by quite a number of very senior officials. Each Arrancada Forum has had a different theme. In 2012, it was Move Twice as Fast. In 2013, it was Realise the Potential. And this year the theme is More Reforms equals More Jobs. More jobs is a top priority of almost every government around the world, of Prime Minister Abbott in Canberra, President Obama in Washington, Chancellor Merkel in Berlin, and of course President Aquino here in the Philippines. In his State of Nation address in 2013, the President told us, "We cannot wait for the trickle-down effect. What we call inclusive growth is a principle that drives every initiative, every action, every decision of your government." Inclusive growth means better lives for the middle and lower classes who comprise the vast majority of the population. Inclusive growth is difficult to achieve. Even most developed countries do not have it. The high statistics of poverty and unemployment and underemployment in the Philippines stand out in stark contrast to the recent high growth in GDP, high investment grade ratings, and the fast accumulating wealth of the few Filipinos on the annual Forbes magazine list of the richest in the land. Low poverty and unemployment levels in neighbouring economies demonstrate that they have achieved considerably more inclusiveness than the Philippines. Creating more and better jobs, to borrow the title of a very important World Bank report we'll hear more about this morning, is easier said than done, but it can be done, as our neighbours have shown. One of the biggest advantages of the Philippines is its large population, the so-called demographic dividend. The Philippines, within decades, will have a larger population than Japan and Russia, becoming the world's 10th most populous state with more than 140 million citizens. But without jobs, this demographic dividend could be a demographic liability. Jobs are created by the private and public sectors working closely together. The private sector brings the investors, capital, technology, training, domestic and foreign markets, and logistics that combine into demand for managers, supervisors, and most of all, workers who will receive a steady income. The public sector must create an enabling environment for jobs through supporting an educated and healthy workforce, providing efficient infrastructure, establishing and implementing supportive regulatory regimes, preventing crime, and otherwise making the environment stable and welcoming for investment in agriculture, business processing, manufacturing, mining, tourism, and other sectors where the Philippines has high potential. The private sector is the great engine of job growth, while the public sector is the great enabler of job growth. The two must move in parallel directions in order to have high economic growth and falling under and unemployment. Unfortunately today in the Philippines, the public and private sectors are not sufficiently moving in parallel to make growth more inclusive. GDP growth at 7.2% sounds good. It's too low. It should be 9%. Let me digress. Last year I made the comment that if you open Tampakan mine, you add 1% to GDP for decades. If you open another 3 and get them running, you add another 1%. That's the 9%, which is quite achievable by doing something in the mining sector. I must say also that the result of recent decisions in the mining sector has resulted in somewhat of a mining boom. It's a mining boom of illegal mining that is creating environmental havoc and not giving the government 1 cent in income. Let me go back to other things. Overall investment at 19% of GDP is far too low. It should be 30%. Foreign investment at 4 billion is too low. It should be 9 billion. Infrastructure is inefficient, and we again face the prospect of electricity shortages. Business costs are unnecessarily high, largely because the public sector has not created a sufficient competitive and enabling environment. The inescapable conclusion is that the Philippines will not have more jobs if it doesn't have more reforms. President Aquino has started important reforms, and positive results are beginning to be evident in higher economic growth, the highest of ASEAN 6 in the 2010-13 period. Increasing foreign investment, the best international credit ratings, fast improving competitiveness scores, and growing international awareness that the Philippine economy is gaining ground. But I think we'd all agree that there is no reason for complacency and that more reforms are needed. What if the next president is not a reformer? We all know the sad history of poor governance in the Philippines. From the viewpoint of foreign investor, we want to know that the current reforms are irreversible and to see an electorate demanding a higher standard from candidates who enter the electoral contest next year. Going back to the bad days would be the worst thing to happen to the future of the Philippines. Today we will learn more about the ongoing reforms from 22 speakers and hear ideas for more reforms, all targeted at increasing investment, creating jobs, and achieving more inclusive growth. It is now my pleasure to introduce the speaker who will give our opening remarks, one of the great public sector managers of the Philippines, a lady all of us know well and all of us admire. Please read the details of Director General de Lima's biography in your program. Suffice it to say that she has spent a life in public service, has enjoyed the confidence of 4 successive presidents in her current position of head of the Philippine Export Zone Authority, and that in international business circles her name is synonymous with successful foreign business in the Philippines. Please join me in welcoming Director General de Lima to address us.
The very active and reform-oriented presidents of the foreign chambers, excellencies of the diplomatic corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Ian Porter, for that very kind introduction. Those are tough challenges you have posed in your message. First, allow me to congratulate the Joint Foreign Chambers on this 3rd Arrancada Philippines Forum that has selected the theme, More Reforms, More Jobs, which I think is most timely. I was asked to highlight the achievements of PESA in raising foreign investments and generating employment, and the challenges to be addressed to further boost more investments. If you may have noticed, I always speak about positive things. So may I share with you that yesterday, February 25, 2014, PESA celebrated its 19th anniversary with a simple mass and simple repast. We also assessed where we are and where we want to be. In 1995, we inherited from EPSA 16 economic zones with 331 registered companies and a staff complement of 1,006. Today, after 19 years, we now have 300 economic zones with 3,213 registered companies with a much depleted staff of 493 persons. One of my most bruising experience, in fact, in public service is when I reduced the former EPSA staff by more than half, and everything was thrown at me, including the kitchen sink. But I did what I had to do and never regretted it. That means in 1995, 3 EPSANs were servicing one company. Today, one PESAN services 6.5 companies. Total investments in PESA in 19 years, 2,582 billion pesos. Total direct employment, 1,048,351 million. 1,048,351. We have breached the 1 million employment, direct employment last September. If we add indirect employment, easily over 5 million jobs were created in these economic zones. And if our economists tell us that one wage earner supports a family of 6, just multiply this by 5. So easily 25 million Filipino lives have been affected by the presence of these companies inside these PESA economic zones. Total exports, 518.97 billion US dollars. Total remittances to the government, 14,691 million, consisting of repayment of loans by the old agency, EPSA, and we pay 50% of dividends to the national government. We don't get budget from the national government, and taxes paid by PESA. Yes, we pay corporate income taxes. Last week, the BIR District 51 of Pasay City awarded PESA first place as top corporate collection contributor with the highest recorded tax payment for 2013 in that district of Pasay. Aside from these payments to the government, PESA pays VAT. Ironic, because we give VAT exemptions to PESA companies. We do not share in the 5% gross income paid. When you pay 5% gross income tax, we do not share there, unlike other investment promotion agencies. We attribute all these accomplishments to a very crucial and strategic policy reform early on, that henceforth PESA will not or will stop developing economic zones and instead encourage and allow the private sector to develop, manage, and operate economic zones at no cost to the government. Sadly, every year there are 10, 15, 20 bills creating new economic zone authorities proposed in Congress, and we have consistently opposed that. PESA's role is simply to enable and not compete, and to provide a supportive business climate to the private sector, whether as developer or locator. And this has proven to be a very successful formula. In fact, some of our neighboring countries are already copying this model of letting the private sector develop economic zones. This major policy reform, plus the restructuring of our bureaucracy and efficient fiscal management, has now borne fruit. We wish to underscore that our personnel service expense in 2012 is only 8.5% of our maintenance and other operating expense budget. Personnel expense versus MOOE is only 8.5%. I believe this is the lowest among all government agencies. Because of prudent fiscal management and reforms effected, PESA manages to boost substantial income yearly. Increase of earnings of PESA happened without increase in fees all the locators in PESA now here present would attest that since 2000 or 14 years ago, we have not raised any ABA fees in PESA economic zones. On the other hand, to encourage companies to ship via, is very much in the news now, via Batangas International Seaport, we have reduced by 50% all fees charged by PESA for all shipments via Batangas Port in 2012, 2013, and again extended up to December this year. I think there's so much to talk about this, so I'll not put this here. I'll just discuss this with the leaders of the Arrancada group, these very difficult problem we have now in the trucking sector. Parallel to these policy reforms, we have developed through the years a PESA brand of service. And I hope you don't mind my sharing this, because this is key to the surge of investors inside PESA economic zones, whereby through the years we have developed a PESA brand of service now recognized by investors not just in the Philippines, but even overseas. And these are that PESA is a one-stop shop. And I think this is very much appreciated by our investors. They don't have to go to so many other offices. It's not yet total, but maybe about 80% have been covered. But we realize that other agencies abroad or here have also their own one-stop shop service. So we upped our quality service by another notch, and we developed a non-stop shop so that even at midnight when goods arrive at the airport, we have people to process that same night goods, especially for the electronics and semiconductor companies, will leave the airport, brought to the zones. And if there's still further processing, you can knock on the door and our people will wake up, process that. That same night, you can finish processing. Following day, finished products could already be exported. When we say 24/7 service, including Saturdays, Sundays, holidays, Christmas, New Year, except Good Friday. We also have to stop working on Good Friday. We are Christians mostly here. And the Director General, that's me. I think that's me, and our top officials are also in court 24/7. So please be assured of that. For very urgent and very important matters, you can call us 24/7. In PESA, there's no red tape, only red carpet treatment to our investors, and most in PESA, very importantly, and this is the reforms that we need now, very importantly, in PESA, there is no graft and no corruption. Maybe there is, just let me know, and I'll take care of them. Unexpected costs. The euphemism for graft and corruption is anathema to good business, as all of you know. Allow me to share with you the study by Mr. Gohan Akinse on leaders in investment climate solutions of the International Finance Corporation of the World Bank, where only PESA was cited for best practice among economic zones worldwide. And if I may quote, under PESA, the Philippines has shown dramatic improvements in investment climate. End result, PESA is a shining example of successful regulatory reform, improving overall investment climate in the country. We are also proud to report to you that we are the only government agency that has been accredited for the 6th consecutive year, ISO 9001:2008 for our quality management systems for all processes at all levels in all our offices nationwide. President Aquino's mantra of Daang Matuwid, or straight path, has made our job at promoting investments much easier. Because of this reformist administration's thrust of good governance, transparency, and no corruption, we are getting a lot of invitations from our embassies abroad and from the foreign ambassadors residents here to go on investment missions in many new countries apart from our usual markets. Europe, especially Northern and Central Europe, are now looking at Asia for their investment site. And when you think of investing in Asia, the Philippines is the site to beat now. It also helps a lot that we have a young working population with a median age of 23 years, an answer to the woes and concerns of aging populations, not just in Asia, but worldwide. Industrial peace in the Philippines is at its best. In fact, in the PESA economic zones, we had only 3 strikes among over 3,000 companies in a 9-year period. 3 strikes in 9-year period. Last year in Singapore, in one of my investment missions, we were told that investors see the Philippines as a raw diamond. With a little polishing, it becomes more brilliant. All of this lead to what? It leads to more jobs. As you can see, in the Calabarzon area, for instance, you see all this high-rise, premier, medium, and low-cost housing that are easily being gobbled up by people there. Makati and other business centers here in Metro Manila have become, night and day, have become seamless because of our IT professionals working in the metropole. So we are aggressively promoting new markets. I just came back from my first ever trip to Beijing, China, last Saturday. I have a very positive outlook on this new market, considering the interest shown by companies in the 2 seminars I conducted in that city. 10 or 15 years ago, all roads lead to China. Today, there is a U-turn, hopefully, towards the Philippines. The country's negative image, our biggest challenge in the past, is now being slowly replaced with a positive view of the Philippines, with a lot of help from the executives of the multinationals, of the companies already here, who share their positive experiences and who encourage their friends and business associates to invest here or to come and visit. And once they come and visit this beautiful country, their image of the Philippines turn 180 degrees. For who can deny, who can ignore the stunning beauty of our pristine beaches and breathtaking sunsets? Sadly, most of us, in fact, just take this for granted. I realized that even more after my trip to China. And our people, their productivity, their English proficiency, their cheerfulness and unique hospitality, I think no one can beat. Ask many of the Japanese and other foreign investors inside PESA economic zones. However, in our assessment yesterday, after 19 years, much has still to be done. Our challenge, I am again reminded of the challenges made by Mr. Ian Porter, including Mr. Porter's challenges. Our challenge is to catch up with our other Asian neighbors. Our cost of power remains one of the highest in the region. Although I realize that there's something good about our high cost of power, and I'm always a positivist. I find something positive and then something negative. We have among the highest cost of power, but because we have high cost of power, we try to save on power, so our pollution is not as bad as others. And reforms in this area are, I think, very much due. Our logistics and shipping